we always recognize the advantages of long-term development in the players, but initially when we were fortunate that we got some players talented enough early. Now, when we say, let me backtrack a second, Jeff, I think probably you've heard me say that our policy with a lot of players is when they're ready, we're ready. When they're ready to help us play better than we would play if they weren't playing, then it stands to reason to use them. Well, when some talented players came in the past, given what the competition for playing time was, they were ready. Okay, even though they might have benefited from substantial development, they were still ready to help the team better at that time than the team would have been if they were standing on the side developing. So they brought us some results that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten. That didn't mean that they wouldn't have been great players as fifth-year players. It's just that we're going to have a better team playing them. Now, as the talent base has improved, players of equal talent to their predecessors are coming in, and would not make as much of an immediate impact as the players who have been developing.
Coach, could you talk about the three quarterbacks right now and what you've seen so far that you've liked from each of them?
Good progress. I mean, that's about it. You know, they're all working hard. They're all progressing. As I've said on a couple of occasions, we're not keeping a daily scorecard on them. Okay, we're looking at the body of work and give everybody plenty of opportunity to show us how the club will best operate. I think in this circumstance, David, because none of the players have really played an appreciable amount of time, that unless something dramatic happens right away, some guy all of a sudden for 5 or 6 days is, whoa, holy smoke, this is really different. Right now, as we've talked about as a staff, to get a lot of different opinions on this thing, because I think it would be foolish and arrogant to think that this should be a unilateral decision. You know, there's a lot of people who see a lot of different things, whether it's game management or call the protection the right way to pick up the blitz, or how players are reacting to what the quarterbacks say. That probably it's the best thing for the team for us to provide us ourselves the opportunity to get as much input as we can. That is not to make a inappropriately quick decision. So it might take some games to find out exactly who the one quarterback is or who the two are that we should plan on playing, however it works itself out. It might take a few games to find that out. Brick was a very technique-oriented player right from the start, Jerry, because he was an undersized tackle. So, and he really had been, even though he was bigger than the high school players he played against, as you all have seen, he was never a behemoth type of tackle. And so in playing against, as soon as he got to college and playing against players who initially were had quite a bit of size strength advantage on him, he quickly tuned in, and Ron was the line coach at the time, did a real good job with him, quickly tuned into, hey, my game's got to be about technique, because it's not going to be about power. So his game was about athletic ability and technique, okay, rather than power. So he was a very good technique player progressively along the way for a young player. Gene had the size advantage that Brick didn't have, plus Gene missed a lot of developmental time. He missed that whole spring. He missed time the next training camp through injuries and whatnot. So he's had far less practice time going into his fourth year than Brick had. He's missed basically two spring practices and part of a training camp. Brick never missed anything. So, but he's really catching up right now. And the point I was trying to get to in giving the answer is that the thing that's most apparent with Gene right now is the big step up in his technique. It does go with everybody, but there's certain positions, okay, where the changeover from practice to game is more significant, and safety would fall into that category. With the multiplicity of offensive formations now that defenses see, and the need to make adjustments and coverage calls based on those formations. The safety really has to take command of the operation. And, one mistake in that can be very telling. And so you can correct those mistakes in practice. The safeties, they're really on their own out there during a game. And so, but you can judge their progress pretty well in practice. You just have to see whether, whether the game brings out even more clarity in decision-making or whether a guy gets stage fright. It's apparent in standing on the back end and watching them between plays. They're developing the type of communication back and forth that guys who have played together often get. And Byron recognizes the advantage not only to Brandon and the team, but to himself to be in coordination. So they're now announcing to each other more and more the anticipation of certain calls. We're in a certain coverage, but the potential, here's what the potential formation change is, and it's Brandon, alert this, meaning here's the call we're going to make if this particular formation change occurs. So the thought process has already been done. Okay, they've already made the decision. Now all we need is for the offensive player to move. In the beginning, when two guys start working together, that's not necessarily the case, particularly as they're just thinking a lot about what's my job. And then all of a sudden, when the part of their job that requires that they run the defense comes about, then sometimes they're caught short. So we are seeing signs of that developing, yes. I'm not trying to be funny with this. All right? I'm just saying it exactly the way I heard one of our coaches say it the other day, and it describes it well. We've gone from the spring, we've gone from horrible to hopeful. And it is. And that was very accurate. It was horrible in the spring, and it's hopeful. We've had just 2 sessions, and the reason that it'll take a while to make any firm judgment on that, we've only had 2 full live. We've only been allowed by the rules for 2 days now to be in full pad, so we've only had 2 full-speed live field goal protection sessions. And because particularly 2 of the candidates of the 3, David, are new to the team, we've never seen them kick before. You find out whether the kickers it's not just about kicking the ball. Some kickers they kick like they have blinders on. That is, they're unaffected by the rush. And some kickers who can really nail the ball when you're doing pretty good hard rush up front, but it's just not full speed. Suddenly when those guys are coming off the edge and it's bing, bing as to whether the kick gets blocked, and they're flying right by their foot just as it hangs out there, which they might get hit, and flipped. Some kickers get really distracted by the rush, and some kickers kick like there's nobody out on the field with them. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of live kicking throughout the course of camp to find out what those things are. But under whatever circumstances we've been kicking, the accuracy is significantly up.
From all 3?
From all 3, yep. The accuracy is significantly up. So we're making progress in that area.